Hello everybody, this is Tyler Schwartz here with Chess at 3 for the Season 3 season finale of Schwartz Center. That is a mouthful. Schwartz Center is about becoming better at chess. Season 1 of Schwartz Center was us getting to a rating of 1,500 rating points. Season 2 was 1,600. And Season 3, which many people thought would never end and we would be stuck in 1,600 land, has ended. Chess at 3 sponsors Schwartz Center. What Chess at 3 is, it's an early childhood education company that can get any 3 to 8-year-old playing and loving chess through stories. So the reason why I haven't made a Schwartz Center in a while is because I wanted to get better at chess, but doing Schwartz Centers doesn't make me better at chess. They were kind of keeping me in a floaty land of rating points. So all year I've been playing in the U2000 tournament at the Marshall Chess Club in Manhattan, and there I've been doing very well. I think in each tournament except for the last one, which I did miss a couple games, I got at least 3 or 3.5 points out of 5, which is very, very cool. So my online rating I think is 1707, and my IRL rating is 1740 or 1750 or something like that. So today I wanted to share with you guys a 4-hour battle I had from the Marshall Chess Club. And here it is. The opponent that I was playing against was 1891. So I'm going to breeze through the beginning of this game because it actually is, it's a marathon. And this is a kind of a classic Caro-Kann line, and all these moves are extremely book until this move by my opponent. He said knight g4 here. So my opponent hasn't finished his development yet. His dark squared bishop is still on its home square. He hasn't castled yet. His d7 knight is fine. So this move seems superficial. It is attacking the f2 pawn. My coach and I looked at the line after knight g4 of rook h2 e1, and then after takes on f2, the rook check on e6, and if the pawn takes, the queen can check on g6 and the game quickly ends. But after the rook check on e6, he can just interpose the bishop on e7, and then we're actually in a little bit of a pickle and black has the advantage. So not that I saw that over the board, but I just defended the threat and decided to, hey, I'm doing well. I want to keep doing well. So he develops, I develop more, he centralizes his knight, I don't want to give him my bishop, he wants my queen, I say you cannot have this. I centralize a knight, he retreats, I trade off a knight, and here is where I start to get creative, and I don't mean that word necessarily as a compliment. So I usually black castles on the king side here, from my experience. And I would love the rook to be involved in the attack on the king side. So I decided to bring the rook to h4. If he reveals an attack, the knight in any way through d5, I'll just push the rook to g4, and that's the square that it really wants to be on. So that was my reasoning behind the move. Didn't turn out great. Develops his queen to a very normal square. I defend the pawn, and he castles. So now that his king is tucked away into bed, now I can really start to develop my attack in a way that I want. My plan here is to develop the bishop to f4. Right now that move is bad because then knight e4 would be very good because it would reveal the attack on my hanging rook and also attack my queen, which would quickly end the game. So I defend the e4 square with rook e1. My opponent plays rook a d8, and I load the gun with bishop f4. He is apparently oblivious to my horrible plan and reveals the attack on the rook. And I sacrifice on h6. He smartly takes my rook, I could retreat with the bishop, but where would be the fun in that? So I took, he takes with his king, and here I play rook e4. Now, here his king is, kind of exposed. I have kind of 3 pieces and a pawn involved in the attack, and a piece hanging from him. However, the move knight f6 here just totally ends the game for me. It pretty much forces me to take the bishop with the rook, but then after queen takes knight, pawn takes queen, rook takes queen, and I have no pieces left. So knight f6 would have really capitalized for him. Fortunately for me, my opponent made a little bit of an inaccuracy with rook g8, which allows me a couple moves to kind of squirm and get my pieces activated. h6 check. King goes to f8. h7. Rook has to go to h8. Now I have this nice check here. And the king comes to e7. Now here, I think I spend a good amount of time analyzing knight takes f7, and after king takes and queen check, what happens then? I think what I calculated with the knight and the bishop having control of the dark squares, it was going to be tough for me to mate, and indeed it would have only led to a perpetual if my memory serves me correctly. So I just cashed in the piece, and he went f6. So the computer likes the move rook g4 here. I'm threatening rook g7 check, which is good, but I chose to give his king a check, forking the h8 rook. He goes over, and now if I just take the knight here, if I use my knight to take his rook and he takes again, and then I do queen down, then he can do queen d8 to defend his rook, and his pieces are working together pretty well. So I want to make sure his pieces aren't working together well, which is why I played queen h6 now. So now I'm threatening, to win the rook outright with knight takes rook, and then if rook takes knight, queen g7 check, and I win the h8 rook. So here he's running out. He's now in trouble. So he sacrifices a knight to lead my king on a little merry chase. So my plan here is to just get my king to the queen side. To the king side, so to give him respite from these checks. Here he makes a move that's not a check, which enables me to win his rook. And he checks me, which I run away. And he takes the d4 pawn with his rook. So here I decide to, instead of just cashing in the exchange, exchanging off rooks, I decided to bring my queen in to help with the defense of the king. So check first, and after the king moves, pow. Queen takes e6, and here he has a couple more checks. Check, check, check. Rook in the way, rook check. And now he has run out of checks, and he has to play queen h6. So here I have to be a little bit careful because my advantage lies in these two squares, absolutely. Neither of which are defended right now. So the move that I chose to defend them both was queen g7. g8. And after rook d7, my knight finally gets to come back into the game with knight f7, both defending the pawn by being a roadblock and attacking his queen. So the queen goes down, and then I can get a second queen. So after a couple more spite checks, my opponent resigned because he doesn't have any really relevant checks left. So this game took about 4 hours. It was probably my favorite one that I played in these tournaments. I made some soul-crushing mistakes. Oh man. One, I just gave away a rook for free in a 3-hour marathon. And then I had some opponents make some really bad mistakes against me as well. So that's it. We're 1,700. So we can celebrate a little bit. So shout out to thanks to everybody who has supported me along the way, to all of Chess at 3. Shout out to Nick Jacobs, Patrick Murphy. Shout out to Kelly Bennett for giving me my chess notebook that I used throughout the tournament, TTS. Shout out to my daughter that will be born probably in the next couple of weeks, due on July 10th. Today is the 24th of June, so she is due very soon. Thanks to all the people on Twitter who have, asked me to keep going with Schwartz Center and reporting these things. I have been playing chess, everybody, just not on the internet. So, shout out, end of season 3. Love you guys all. I'll see you soon for season 4. Hopefully with an appearance from my daughter.